Hi, I'm Suresh Venkat. I'm at the Social Media Week 2014 in Mumbai. I'm in conversation with the CEO South Asia GroupM, CVL Srinivas. Srinivas, welcome. Let me ask you some questions based on some statistics that we have. Just let's take Facebook alone, 11 million daily users.
Right.
And social media overall would have 100 million daily or weekly users that you'd see in India.
Right.
And yet cumulative ad spending on social media is about 8% of the 40,000 crore advertising pie.
Yeah.
Who's not waking up to the reality? Who's not smelling the coffee here?
Actually, all forms of digital media put together is about 8% of the total ADX.
Okay.
And even today, a large part of digital is search. So actually, if you drill down the numbers, social media as a percentage of the total ad spend is a negligible number. It's a very, very small number. I think there are quite a few reasons for it. I think first and foremost, I mean, even before we come to social media, I think as far as digital media itself is concerned, I think it's only now that we're beginning to see some traction with clients. I think till recently, in India, we always used to, media reaching hundreds and millions of people. So I think now that we've broken the 100 million on Facebook and 200 million on internet, kind of a threshold number, I think digital is coming onto the radar of a lot of advertisers.
And yet there is a feeling among advertisers, among traditionalists, if you'd like to call them that, that somehow unless you have a print and TV campaign in your mix, somehow it's not, you're not quite there.
Yeah, but I think things are changing. Things are definitely changing. Maybe the change is not happening as fast as all of us would like it to be. But I must say, in fact, in the last 1.5 years, we've seen a lot more change and a lot more, I would say, innovation coming out of FMCG companies when it comes to digital and when it comes to adapting campaigns for digital media than some of the usual suspects, some of the other categories which are anyway have been there on digital. But we're seeing a lot more innovation with the FMCG brands. So I think it's only a matter of time before the floodgates really open up.
This is not the first time that you've spoken at Social Media Week in India. How have you seen this event change over the years?
Well, firstly, it's very interesting to be here. It's, I think, a great format, and I think it's just grown bigger every single time. This is the third event I'm taking part in. We had one in Bombay last year and then one in Bangalore as well. So yeah, I think it's growing bigger. It's more speakers, more sessions, more excitement. Yeah, it's great fun to be.
And this kind of event, what would you like to see it turn into? A bigger platform for advertisers and for clients and for agencies and media agencies?
Yeah, I think for events like this to work, I think we will need to have a lot more client participation, a lot more advertisers coming here, a lot more advertisers coming and talking to us about their point of view, and also maybe have sessions where all stakeholders get together and address some of the common problems. See, one of the big challenges we're facing as an industry today is we're too fragmented as an ecosystem. On an average, a large advertiser today deals with something like 25 to 30 different agencies, because media has got so fragmented. So I think platforms like this really help getting all stakeholders together, and I think that's something which SMW should strive to do going forward.
What are the kind of struggles that you have with your clients? When you're trying to sell the digital idea to them, do you need to sell the medium itself, or are they sold in the medium and you merely need to sell different aspects of the medium?
Well, there are obviously different kinds of clients. There are, I would say, those who are, who are still at the early stages of trying to understand the medium. And in most cases, clients come with a traditional media mindset and apply the same, let's say, metrics and the same forms of measurement to digital media, and then they start comparing digital with, let's say, TV or print. So there are quite a few clients which fall into that kind of a segment. There are others who are a little more, I would say, digitally savvy, and or the first movers who've been there, got some learnings and are today moving on and actually challenging us to come up with metrics which are relevant for digital, challenging us to actually come up with campaigns which are more suitable for digital media. So I think there are different types, and but all said and done, I think the good news is it's all moving in the right direction. Yeah.
Speaking of metrics, we are currently witnessing a war between two leading English dailies. I'm not naming any names, about who has the bigger readership, one calling the other a crybaby.
Yeah.
On the TV side, we have every single television channel claiming to be #1 based on slicing and dicing of metrics. So is there a danger of the metrics becoming interpreted, or the metrics going the same way on the digital side, without and confusing the client and the agency and the advertiser and the viewer perhaps?
Yeah, in fact, I think the whole approach to metrics and numbers, again, like I said, is happening with a more traditional mindset, and I think a lot of these approaches are going to change going forward. You know, as a media agency, for example, today we don't just look at reach numbers of a medium, but we also look at the kind of buzz that's going around about the medium or the program, for which we look at social media very, very actively. We monitor the buzz, we pick up the kind of sentiment that's going around for different programs and different channels, and plan our media accordingly. Now, as the penetration of digital increases, and as you have more and more people coming onto social media platforms expressing their opinions about channels, programs, publications, magazines, I think research agencies, media agencies will sit up and take notice and factor a lot of that in as well. So I think there is going to be a shift in terms of measurement and metrics and all of that, and sooner we adapt to that shift, the better.
So as an industry, what are you doing to create common currency amongst different agencies, amongst clients, amongst other stakeholders in the process?
Today, yeah, as far as the currency is concerned, I think we still have challenges with each individual, metric, be it for TV or be it for print or whatever else. So I think we are some way off from looking at a...
Will digital learn lessons from what went wrong in TV and print?
Most definitely, I think so. I think digital will learn a lot of lessons from there. I think there is a lot of effort which some of the large digital players are putting in to actually build a digital currency of sorts. I mean, even the industry bodies have been discussing it in the last few months. So I think we will soon start seeing something happen on that front.
One of the biggest fans of social media and digital in general are the millennials, people born in the 80s, maybe the early 90s, and they're going to be the huge consumer base for big brands and audiences for agencies like yours.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of social media gurus around the world who've said no company has the guts to appoint a 25-year-old on its board.
Right.
And yet they claim to market to 18, 25-year-olds.
Right.
How on earth will you understand that?
Right.
If you don't have the guts to find a really smart, say, 20-year-old and have to put them on the board, give them board making decisions.
Yeah,
do you see that happening?
Yeah, we see that happening. In fact, I would like to correct that perception. We did something very interesting last year at GroupM, when we were trying to kind of recast our journey for the next 3 years. And obviously it was, the whole thing was about putting digital at the center of the organization and building a strong digital core in GroupM. So we felt that, the best set of people to teach us and lead us were actually our own staff working at the junior levels of the organization, because they're the millennials and they're the ones who've grown up on digital as a media. So what we did last year was, in fact, it's the first for our network, for GroupM anywhere in the world, and probably the first in our industry. We actually created a board parallel to the executive committee, or the EXCO as we call it in GroupM. We created something called the YCO. The YCO is a body of 15 individuals who are all in their 20s, and they actually act as a pressure group in GroupM to the EXCO. They work very closely with the senior leadership at GroupM and help us in taking a lot of decisions, especially when it comes to technology.
You're actually empowered.
If they tell you that,
Srinivas, you're a funny
you can go and check with them.
This is not a decision you should leave this to.
Yeah. In fact, they worked for about 6-7 months on different projects, to do with digital and to do with talent management and so on and so forth. And then they actually came back and we had one full day where the YCO actually lectured to the EXCO and told us where we were going wrong, what are the action we need to take, and we got some very, very useful insights.
And this is an ongoing exercise.
It's an ongoing exercise. In fact, we just refreshed the YCO. We have a new batch because we want to give a chance to a larger set of people in the organization. So we have the YCO batch 2, which has just come on board, and they're taking their agenda forward. If
you were to name the top 3 or 4 brands, either in your stable or not in your stable, who in your opinion understand digital really well, which are the brands that you would name?
Well, I think among the brands that we worked on in the last in the last couple of years, Nestle I think stands out as an organization that has really taken digital extremely seriously. We work very, very closely with Nestle. In fact, we helped set up the digital acceleration hub for Nestle, which I spoke about just now. And I think that's helped really shift the needle within the organization. I think apart from all the benefits we have to advertising and media and understanding consumers and all of that, I think at a macro level it's really helped build a digital culture in Nestle. So I think that's a great example. We're also seeing, of course, a lot of our other clients like Vodafone is pretty innovative when it comes to leveraging digital in campaigns, and the famous fan cam idea of Vodafone, which they used during the IPL, really helped build engagement and deliver good results for the brand. So they're doing some good work. Hindustan Unilever is another client which has obviously been been pretty much, you know, I would say ahead of the curve when it comes to digital, trying out new platforms, doing amazing stuff on mobile.
Okay.
So yeah, we are seeing advertisers who, you know, otherwise one would have thought are more traditional, given the kind of categories and brands that they have, actually going on and taking risks and innovating on digital, which is great.
CVL Srinivas, thank you for talking to us at Social Media Week.
Thank you. Thanks so much.